They thought he was just someone's grandfather. He showed up every Wednesday afternoon, sat alone at the edge of the open-air observation deck near the flight drill line. Didn't speak, didn't film, didn't wear a badge. Just leaned on the rail, a worn navy windbreaker zipped halfway, ball cap pulled low over weathered eyes. He never interrupted, never clapped. Just watched. Some of the younger recruits joked about him. Bet he flew gliders in '78. Maybe he's writing a blog about how much better it was back then. But the older tech sergeant didn't laugh. He just glanced at the old man once and muttered, "You don't hold still like that unless you've waited for the worst kind of return." That day, the wind was up. Not gusting, just wrong. Cross flow felt off. Subtle. Even the instructors didn't catch it. A recruit overshot his climb flare on the first pass. Another came in too flat. Minor stuff, chalked up to nerves. The old man didn't flinch. Didn't move. Just narrowed his eyes slightly. Then, quietly, he said something. No one heard it the first time. Then again, louder. "Check the wind again." One of the instructors nearby turned. "Excuse me, sir?" The old man nodded toward the flag at the far end of the tarmac. "You're reading surface drift, not thermal push." The instructor frowned, walked to the gauge, paused, then called for a temporary hold. 10 minutes later, the correction came through the tower. Temperature inversion layer was pressing wind down at the approach corridor. Enough to throw the descent line by 2 degrees. Nothing fatal. But nothing small either. The old man sat back down. Didn't smile. Didn't gloat. Just said, 2 degrees is the difference between a smooth landing and remembering a name too early. The next afternoon, he was back. Same chair. Same windbreaker. Same silence. But this time, something was different. People noticed when he sat down. Not with tension, just awareness. The instructor from the day before gave him a small nod as he passed. The old man didn't return it. Not out of pride. He just didn't trade in gestures. Drill 2B was underway. Basic low-speed turn at controlled descent. Nothing flashy, but critical. Second pilot on the run pulled out of turn too early. The plane dipped, stuttered. Rudder locked halfway into correction. Instructors moved quick, grounded the unit, called it a calibration fault. Everyone moved on. Except the old man. He didn't speak. He just stood. Walked over to the outdoor coffee table. Took a napkin from the stack. And drew a sketch. 5 strokes. Clean. Mechanical. Not artistic. Not abstract. Precise. Then he folded it once and left it under the edge of the instructor's clipboard. They found it 20 minutes later. At first glance, it looked like a wiring diagram. But one of the older technicians squinted. "No, this is an old rudder torque offset fix." "Outdated?" the instructor asked. "No. Just forgotten." They matched the sketch to the malfunction log. It fit. Exactly. The next morning, the instructor brought it to the hangar. Had the team test the adjustment. The rudder aligned. Smooth. No delay. No correction needed. "Where did this come from?" the tech asked. The instructor looked out toward the observation rail. The man wasn't there. Not yet. But his seat was. Still warm from memory. Later, someone checked the tower logs, just to satisfy curiosity. One of the old flight recorders had a matching diagram in its archive. Same pattern. Same angles. It was filed under an incident from 1993. Call sign blacked out. But someone had written a note beneath it in pencil. "Field correction from pilot. Not documented in manual." The visiting instructor arrived on a Tuesday. Transferred from the West Coast Flight Training Center. A man with 3,000 logged hours, silver hair, and a reputation for saying little and watching much. He didn't wear aviators, didn't carry a clipboard, just walked the line in silence, until he reached the edge of the observation deck. The old man was there. Same cap, same windbreaker. One leg crossed over the other, watching drill 4B play out below like it was a memory on loop. The visiting instructor froze. Mid-step. Didn't speak. Didn't move for 5 seconds. Then he turned slowly to the junior officer at his side and said, under his breath, "That's not just anyone. That's him." "Sir?" the junior asked. "That's the guy from Meridian." The younger man blinked. "What's Meridian?" The instructor didn't answer. He was still staring. Eyes narrowed, breath shallow. "We thought he was gone." After a few moments, he walked away, didn't finish the tour. Went straight to the hangar, pulled up an old archive from a decommissioned flight sim. Typed 3 characters into the access field. B3F. Access denied? He tried again. this time with clearance from command. The file opened. Only audio. Distorted. Dusty. No visual. Turbine 2 failing. Reverse thrust unresponsive. No NAV link. Going manual. Then, a different voice. Calm. Even. Copy that. Bringing her in sideways. Tell the tower not to watch. Silence. Then static. Then nothing. The file ended. Underneath the waveform, a single note. Rudder correction technique matched to unfiled field diagram. Pilot ID, unknown. But the waveform was familiar. The tone. The phrasing. The instructor closed the file, hand trembling slightly. He didn't speak about it again that day. But later that night, he walked to the observation rail. The old man was gone. Just a paper cup left sitting beside the chair. Still warm. On the rim. Etched faint with the corner of a key. 3 letters. B3F. The inquiry came the next morning. Typed cleanly. Marked, low priority, but flagged quietly in the system. Sent by the visiting instructor, routed through internal security. Unidentified civilian observed near flight deck perimeter. Request, confirm authorization, clearance status, and background. It was formal. Polite. Just enough to keep it quiet. The reply took 7 hours. When it arrived, it wasn't signed. No header. No officer name. Just 5 lines of text. He is not on file. He is not under review. He is not to be logged. He is not a visitor. He is allowed to watch. That was it. No address. No rank. No return instructions. And beneath that, a final line in smaller font. You will not be questioned for asking. Do not ask again. The instructor sat back. Read the lines again. And again. Then folded the paper in thirds and tucked it under his flight manual. Didn't speak. Didn't show it to anyone. But at the end of the next drill, when the old man stood and walked past, the instructor straightened and nodded. Not casual. Not friendly. Like a junior nods to senior. The old man paused, met his eyes, held the moment, then tapped once on the metal railing, just his finger, no sound, and walked on. From that day forward, no one joked about him again, and by the end of the week, the new recruits were calling him something else. Not Grandpa. Not Observer. They just said, he's the one who watches the turn, and no one ever asked what that meant. The base hosted visiting speakers twice a year. Veterans, commanders, aviators flown longer than most recruits had been alive. It was tradition, a way to honor legacy, inspire the next cycle. Most speeches were polished, safe, but when Commander Tolan arrived that Thursday morning, something changed. Tolan had flown out of 4 continents, logged 37 years in classified airlift. He'd seen carrier launches in blackout storms, and once brought a bird down without a tail light or second engine. People respected him. When he stepped up to the platform near the tarmac rail, the hangar went still. He started his talk with the usual discipline, navigation. The sky doesn't forgive distraction. But midway through his second point he faltered. Eyes locked on something. No, someone, at the back edge of the deck. A man in a navy windbreaker. Cap pulled low. Hands clasped behind his back. Still. Silent. Watching. Tolan went silent. Not for drama. For memory. He stepped off the platform slowly. Didn't excuse himself. Didn't address the crowd. Walked through the line of officers and enlisted like they weren't there. And stopped 5 feet from the man. The recruits turned. Some whispered. Others froze. Because Tolan, the commander they came to learn from, now stood at attention. No salute. Just presence. His voice, when it came, was thin but clear. I didn't think I'd ever see you again. The old man didn't smile. Didn't speak. But he gave a short nod, the kind that meant something long ago. Tolan exhaled. Then, quietly, he said, they still talk about Flight 09 over the sea shelf. Still try to figure out how it made it back. The man in the windbreaker finally replied. I didn't fly it back. No? Tolan asked. I just aimed it where I hoped home was. They stood there for a long time. No one interrupted. When Tolan returned to the platform, he didn't finish his speech. He just said, some men aren't legends, because legends fade. Some men are coordinates. So when everything else fails, you follow where they stood. It was Reyes again, the quiet one from maintenance who liked old tech too much. He'd been digitizing the SIM archive for months, sifting through corrupted drills and forgotten log files. But this file wasn't corrupted, just buried. Deep under 3 access flags and an unlinked file path labeled only B.star_archives/not for training. No metadata. No author. No mission name. He opened it anyway. The footage began rough. No intro screen. Just raw video, cockpit mounted, timestamp stuttering in the top corner. The screen showed clouds. Fast. Low. Too close. Altitude gauge spun, then held. Camera jerked sideways. Wind screaming through the headset audio. Then, a voice. Low. Calm. Gravel and steel. There's no map for this. But I remember the stars. The image jolted again. The plane was banking hard now, not a stunt, but survival. Another voice came through, barely audible. You're off course. You're cut off. There is no course. Only home. The video blurred. Then went black. The file ended without signature. No aircraft ID. No call sign. But the voice. Reyes knew it. He'd heard it once, on the flight deck, when the old man told the instructor to check the wind. Same tone. Same patience. Same trust and instinct when data failed. Reyes copied the file to a personal drive. Didn't upload it. Didn't report it. But he left it, silently, on the squadron chief's desk. No label. Just a note taped to the top. This isn't simulation. This is memory. That night, someone placed a second chair beside the old man's usual spot on the observation deck. Not as an invitation. As a kind of recognition. As if to say, if you ever want to speak, we'll be listening. It was near sunset. The deck lights hadn't clicked on yet, and the sky was fading slow, not dramatic, just honest. A faint breeze drifted across the tarmac, moving a single scrap of paper across the concrete until it caught on the leg of the empty chair beside him. He didn't reach for it, just let it rest there. The instructor, Lieutenant Hale, approached quietly. No clipboard, no coffee. Just something in his posture that said he wasn't here to correct anything. He sat down slowly, one brow over. Not facing the old man. Just nearby. They sat like that for a while. No words. No acknowledgement. Until Hale broke the silence. Soft, almost like he didn't expect an answer. How do you land when nothing's working? The old man didn't move. Didn't blink. But his reply came clear, after a pause. You stop listening to the noise. Hale turned his head slightly. What if there's no signal left? Then listen to what doesn't change. A long silence followed. Then Hale asked, quieter, and what if you forget? The old man leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on his knees. Then you level the wings, and wait for memory to catch up. Hale looked down, pulled a small, folded paper from his jacket, unfolded it carefully. The old field diagram, the rudder correction, the napkin sketch. Was this yours? The old man didn't reply. Instead, he said, I flew with a man once who told me, no map is perfect. But the stars don't lie. We stopped filing reports after that. Started filing stories. Hale folded the napkin again. Put it back in his pocket. They're still telling that story, sir. The old man looked up at the sky, faint blue now, streaked with dusk. Then fly it right. No salute. No handshake. Just the silence again. But this time shared. And the wind between them didn't sound like wind anymore. It sounded like altitude. The storm came hard. No warning. No build-up. Just a dry crack of thunder and a downpour that erased the line between runway and sky. Tower control lost 2 comm bands in 20 seconds. The backup relay stuttered then dropped. Inside the control room, someone cursed under their breath, off mic. Outside, the instructor stood frozen, watching a single light on final approach. It wasn't supposed to be in the air. But one bird hadn't received the hold signal before the blackout. Lieutenant Hale's student. Third solo run. Mid-descent. No eyes. No grid. The old man was already standing, back straight, hands behind him, watching. Inside the cockpit, the young pilot kept his composure. Didn't pull up. Didn't stall. Because 3 nights ago, Hale had handed her something. A drawing. A sketch. A napkin diagram of how to field the descent instead of fly it. This isn't training, he told her. It's memory passed down. She flew low. Leveled her wings, didn't trust the gauges, trusted what didn't change. The slope of the wind, the way rain hits glass at perfect heading, the rhythm of still air just before touchdown. She landed smooth, no bounce, no brake stutter, just contact, like the runway had been waiting for her the whole time. Inside the hangar, no one spoke. When she stepped out of the cockpit, soaked through her flight suit, she didn't stop at her instructor. Didn't check her logbook. She walked straight to the observation deck. The second chair was still there. Empty. Waiting. She stood beside it. Took a breath. Then removed her flight badge, small, black, brushed metal. She set it gently on the seat. Didn't say anything. But the wind picked up, just enough to move it half an inch forward. Like the chair accepted it. Later that night, the badge was gone. The chair remained. But in its place, folded clean, a napkin with a new diagram. Not one from the past. A new pattern, drawn by a different hand. Same lines, same silence. Because some people fly by rules, but others? They carry the sky in memory. And when the world loses signal, they still find home.